Can you believe it? We've made history and you've been part of it. Hackers on Planet Earth 2020, all online from wherever you are to wherever everyone else is. What a miracle, what a thing that we've created. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about how we did it. We're going to introduce to some of the personalities. We're going to describe some of the technologies. We're also going to ask for your input and feedback because that's so important to us. To give inspiring and upbeat words of how successful this has been and some views on how it's really energized the entire hacker community, I'd like to welcome our publisher, coordinator, and inspiration, Emmanuel Goldstein. Emmanuel, please take the stage. Emmanuel, you're live.
Oh, wow. Hey, Greg, how you doing? Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's been 9 days, folks. 9 days. Just a little cat nap there. We did it. We made it. I don't believe it. We did the impossible. I mean, we've done the impossible before, all of us. This was incredible. This was something that I never would have dreamed of before we started pursuing this crazy idea of doing a 9-day conference. Things really seem hopeless. Not to make a pun or anything like that, but last year when we lost the hotel, didn't have a place to go, seemed hopeless then. Found a new place, had all kinds of optimism, and then 2020 arrived and back to hopeless. And then just talking to a bunch of really inspiring people, yourself included, Greg, we were able to come up with an idea to do something different, something never before tried. And we did it. Not just us. Everybody who presented a talk, everybody who worked behind the scenes, my God, the professionalism I have seen in the last 9 days. This, like running a television station, television network, it was the most incredible thing. People on top of problems before they became apparent. I'm blown away by all that. So that was something. And of course, the people who attended, the attendees, those people who bought tickets just to support us. Let me tell you, the magazine was in very bad condition only a couple of months ago. We basically are publishing a magazine that goes directly to a dumpster, because what happens is we have to print it and then we have to send it. But then when we send it, the stores are closed. So they direct it to the dumpster. And they don't pay us anything, and we have to pay for that. And, oh boy, it's just it was a nightmare. We are able to survive, you know, for a while anyway, with these crazy conditions, and hopefully those crazy conditions stop. And again, you know, our problems are nothing compared to what so many people are going through. I can't even imagine. But what we saw here over the last 9 days, it made me not think of that. It made me think of all the good we can do, you know, all the incredible, inspiring projects people are involved with. And having them have a voice, no matter what part of the world they were in, no matter how old or how young they were. We heard from so many people. And I got to say, not having to run around physically between rooms, and in the case of St. John's, it would have been buildings, I was able to actually see talks and experience them. While freaking out online, I was able to have a screen up that had a talk, and it was really amazing and inspiring just to be a part of all that. So I hope everybody got that. I hope everybody got the same inspiration out of this, because so many people are responsible for this miracle happening. And there'll never be anything like this again. There'll be something else that'll be awesome and cool. But this was history. And if you missed any of it, don't fret. The archives exist, and we're always going to be able to relive these moments. I'm not going to take up time because we have so many people to thank, so many things to go over. But I just want to thank everybody personally for their support, for having faith in us, 2600 Hope, hearing people from all over the world say how much Hope meant to them. That's incredible. That means so much to us. That makes us want to do even more in the future. Not the near future. We're going to have to rest a little bit. Usually after a 3-day conference, we lose a day. So I guess that means I'm going to be losing 3 days now. And I'll emerge at some point and we'll resume our activities. One thing, everybody is going to get contacted concerning, that sounds ominous, doesn't it? No, everyone's going to get contacted asking what your shirt size is, because all of the attendees, everybody who bought a ticket, gets a t-shirt and a badge, which we were going to have, but because everything takes 3 times longer to get due to all the craziness, we weren't able to show it to you during the conference. But we are going to contact you as soon as we figure out a way to contact over 1,000 people without our office manager going crazy when all the responses come through. We will do that. It'll be very soon. And by the end of the month, we will place the order for t-shirts, special t-shirts that only you will get, never be on sale to anybody else. We will move forward with that. But for now, let's just rejoice in an awesome conference where I wasn't aware of any major issues. People really got along, and we heard all kinds of viewpoints and learned so much from so many different people. So again, thank you to everybody. I'm going to pass it on to Greg again, and we will see you all at some point. Don't know exactly when, but we will see you. Thanks.
Well, thank you for those words of inspiration, and I think everyone is going to join in a round of applause. Even though we're virtual, we can still do that. We can do it in the Big Blue Button room. We can do it where we are. We can do it in front of YouTube, and we appreciate all that you do in leading the helping to lead, not leading, I don't think, but helping to lead the community and helping to sustain all the communication forums of 2600 Magazine, the Hope Conference series, Off the Hook, Off the Wall, and everything else that you do.
Thank you.
Well, so we're going to go through a number of things, as Emmanuel just mentioned. And the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about the artwork. And so we invite Fred to join us and work through a little bit of what is behind that wacky alien badge, and what is that optical machine called. Go ahead and unmute, Fred.
I'm unmuted. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, it was quite a ride to figure out the artwork for this year. We started with just the basic idea. Well, since it's 2020, it's kind of the optics of it all. And we kind of settled on the idea of a phoropter, I think is the term for the optometrist tool, where you can change the lens and try to find out the right prescription for everyone to see just perfectly, right? So we thought it was an apt metaphor. And I threw Kyle and Emmanuel an idea of trying to turn it into a puzzle and have people click on it. And after looking at me confused, they sort of nodded and figured, yeah, okay, well, we'll see what you could do. And I put a little bit of code together, and the beauty about vector graphics is that they work on the web seamlessly. And if I could just share my screen quickly, I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like. So we got the drawing here of the main concept, and I put a little bit of layers in. So if I take off the first layer, you can see all the numbers and letters that I sort of half randomly put together and then figured out some codes. I had a few codes that were suggested to me. And underneath this, we had a sort of alien character that I can make disappear. But if you find all the little Easter eggs on the site, you can have that little alien appear as a reveal. So that was it for the artwork. And I want to say again that I'm very impressed with everyone. Like we had, everyone has huge obstacles this year. It's a trying time for a lot of people. And the hacker spirit is what makes everyone go around those obstacles and just figure out a way to do what they want to do in new and creative ways. And it's that hacker spirit that inspires me. My technical skills are mostly in art. I like to dabble with code a little bit too. So when I can mix both, it's just a perfect match. So it's that hacker spirit that inspires me this year and every year to just put together the art for the t-shirts and the conference. And I want to thank everyone who encouraged me and allowed me, and who just get a kick out of wearing the t-shirts. I think that's truly inspiration. So thank you, everybody. And I'm just glad to be participating with the skills that I have to this wonderful community.
Outstanding, Fred. And I think people recognize Fred's artwork because it often appears in some of your favorite venues, such as 2600 magazine on the cover and elsewhere. So it's great to have you part of Hope. Up next, we have a very special message from NP Khrushchev, ambassador to the People's Republic of Soviet somewhere. Let's hear words of wisdom from Mr. NP Khrushchev, please.
People of the outside world and subversive hackers at the Hope Conference. My name is Commissioner Nikita Perestek-Kruzov, and I'm the ambassador of the People's Confederation of Soviet Unterzegersdorf. I am talking to you in English, the language of late capitalism, not in German, the language of guilt. Let me greet you with a little song that I have found in our archives of international understanding. As I walked out in the streets of Laredo, as I walked out in Laredo one day, I saw a young cowboy all wrapped in white linen, all wrapped in white linen, as cold as the clay. Beautiful. I am speaking to you at the end of a long and dire time of containment. I'm a bit late, I know, but it took some time to set up the Zoom connection. We had to reverse engineer MS-DOS from a floppy disk that one of our spies had extracted out of a Herlango shop in Stockerau back in '89, and then we had to loop it through our Betamax recorder, and progress. The Communist Party of Soviet Unterzegersdorf told me to introduce you to our cause. It is a proud but sad story. But don't cry for me. Cry for Argentina. The Confederation of Soviet Unterzegersdorf lies southwest of Highway Junction Stockerau-Mitte, right between Oberzegersdorf-Zeiner and Ober-Olberndorf. All land of our mothers, fathers, and all intersexes. Here, you can have a look at it. It's not far, but we won't let you in. Soviet Unterzegersdorf is the last existing satellite state of the USSR. The good old days of the Cold War. Nobody touched us. Actually, nobody really knew about us. But after the Soviet Union turned into many little non-Soviet countries, it was crazy. It was like a lot of pop-ups on Firefox, and you try to click them away, but it doesn't work. Tragic. And the neighboring village of Oberzegersdorf grew aggressive, with tractors. They even tempted us with decorated oxen and cornflakes. Do not laugh. In fact, a couple of thrash metal kids entered our country and killed the last of our chicken to make a graffiti. We have no allies. Cuba is weak shit. North Korea is for girls in a gender-neutral way. China is a dog with the wrong puppies. And Venezuela is fake. It doesn't even exist. We can prove it. We are defined by lack of resources, lack of inhabitants, lack of space, and lack of disk space. We have a lot of gravel though, and fine sand for concrete. But we also have a lot of perspectives. We are like Liechtenstein, but we don't have money. We export a moral agenda. I want to address a smear campaign on Snapchat. First, no, it is not true that we created Corona and infected Ishko. We did not infect Ishko. They infected themselves. First and foremost, with structural incompetence. Second, we don't have a single case of Corona in our country. In fact, we tried hard to obtain an infected victim from Hollabrunn so we could weaponize treatment. But we epic failed that, so we accidentally kidnapped a healthy bus driver from Korneuburg. He actually likes it in our country and doesn't want to leave. Now we have one more hungry mouth to feed. 3. We are safe. You can't say that about yourself. Keep your sphincters tight and listen to this amusing joke to explain your situation to you. 2 widows meet at the supermarket. Widow A: what did your husband die of? Widow B: Corona. Widow A: at least nothing serious. 4. Is Corona laboratory made? Nah. I think it's way more reasonable to assume that a bat fucked a pangolin and some guy then fucked that pangolin. Mystery solved. Occam's razor. 5. Tell all those conspiracy theorists to go rub themselves in the chest with Vic Vaporub. Conspiracy theories? Bah! It should be called conspiracy hypothesis. It doesn't even deserve to be called a theory. They assume that someone runs the world, that someone is in control. The sad truth is that nobody is in control. That's way more terrifying. 6. There is this film, Contagion, by Steve Soderbergh. We pirated the film. It took 8 years to download. A bit faster than the movie about Kevin alone at home. What a waste. And don't get me started about this Lord of the Rings diarrhea. I like factories. Saruman is the Industrial Revolution. He should be the true hero of the film. Fuck ancient trees. But I digress. The Vatican is shit. And New Zealand is shit too, although the liberals like it so much. But the Americans are extreme shit. We even built an embassy for them in our country. But they never wanted to move in. But I laugh last. Ha! The coronavirus shows the benefits of our system. The homeless population in the US, the refugee situation in Greece, the cheap laborers in China and in Italy. Do not laugh. Their living conditions are bad, they are under constant stress, they do not have access to proper food and water. It is impossible for most of them to get treatment for any kind of disease. Even the ability to isolate yourself socially during a pandemic is a privilege. Epidemics have always been and still are manifestations of class. Think about the bubonic plague. How we treat the weakest in society is coming back to haunt society as a whole. You feared that your freedom was taken away by Corona? Number 1. Oh, hell has no fury like a middle-class person mildly inconvenienced. Number 2. A human centipede is not social distancing. Number 3, your freedom is not being taken away. You had no freedom in the first place. What you call freedom is something that your state grants you. It's a little gift by the authorities, nothing more. And more important, freedom of expression includes freedom of exploitation, period. Number 4, you should change your passwords. The magic thinking that Corona will transform the way humanity thinks about the world is, well, magic thinking. Let me remind you that there is one thing that capitalism really likes: a crisis. Crisis! Crisis! Crisis is the concentrated explosion of all the contradictions of capitalistic production. And we're having a first row seat now when we go over to the fields and stand at the border and look into the west. A crisis is a big purge. The forces of the market prey on the weak and the powerless, be they companies or people or ecosystems. They suck them dry, eat them up, like Thulu, leave them to rot like empty carcasses. And it's already happening. By the end of the year, you will see corporate mergers that you can wipe your ass. Disney might actually buy Netflix or Boeing. Don't interrupt! Что такое? I'm recording! I appreciate the gesture when Western people say we will all buy local products, we will recycle, we will not fly to Mallorca. People long for a wonderful spark that ignites transformation. But I don't see it. I see a lot of terrified people, distrustful of each other, clinging to toilet paper. I'm not even speaking about the 663 million people who live without easy access to clean water and the 2.4 billion people who lack access to improved sanitation facilities. As a species, we will survive. Some people will really change their behavior, but it will be out of a position of privilege and of liberal lifestyle. And there won't be enough of them, globally speaking. The inequality gap will widen, like goats. Just remind yourself that you're heading into the gloomy darkness of a giant recession. Most people will be buying the cheapest products, Amazon, just because they won't be able to afford local eco-friendly ones. Many people lack financial cushions. Many will be struggling. I agree that there will be stronger domestic supply chains. But that is part of the classic pattern of national competition. National competition will not decline into hippiedom. On the contrary, it will intensify. In some cases, it will escalate, and the extreme form of national competition is called war. And we are ready. And we are ready. Do not laugh. Trump cancelled the INF treaty, so we will get our ICBM ready by the end of the week. Plus minus a month. I have to leave you and the information superhighway behind. I have to tend the people's little garden. We have a rat problem. End transmission!
Everyone else mute. That was fascinating. I feel like I've been messaged by someone really, really important at this point, and I'm going to think about that message probably for the rest of the week. As we work through our thank yous and some of our star casts, I'd like to call upon Johannes. Johannes, you gave a couple of talks this week, and how did you enjoy Hope?
Oh, it was fascinating, because usually I was, of course, I guess as we all were kind of like disappointed, because I was looking forward. I'm looking forward 2 years to go to New York for Hope Conference. And then, of course, COVID happened, and oh my God, what's going on? Will there be hope? Will they just like, I was really wondering what you guys are coming up with, because I was expecting something like you were postponing it until next year or something like that. And then suddenly, oh, Hope is only virtual. So it's only, how is that going to work? So like, will this work? Will the spirit be transferable to an online event? Because I mean, the wonderful thing about Hope is like just being there and being in the midst of this creativity and being in the midst of like a gazillion of wacky people, and everyone is just like throwing in stuff, and it just like happens. And I have to say, I watched so many talks. I was in the chats and everything, and I'm super happy that it worked out as it worked out. So like, big applause from Austria. It's like 2:30 in the morning here, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you so much to the whole team.
Those are great remarks. You know, we've had a very, very strong representation from Europe this time around, including on our infrastructure team, and we'll hear about them momentarily. We have a number of volunteers that are based, especially it seems in the Berlin area. So how do you feel about European participation this time around?
Oh, I mean, I was astounded how much is happening, but at the same time, so many people are not that privileged to even be able to afford to go to the US. Maybe they can't enter the US because of like legal problems. Maybe they can't afford a flight ticket or something like that. So having the possibility of being pretty much like on the same level as everyone else, because everyone is just online from wherever they are. So I think that helped, I guess, bring in a little bit more diversity on the level of like nationalities and cultures and spots from the planet where people were emerging from. So that was really great to see.
Nice. Well, it's been wonderful having so many Europeans, and of course having you. I wonder, your talk last night was about Robozotica, which is a what it sounds like, and play talk. But what I wonder is, maybe you could summarize anything that you learned or picked up from the Hope Conference that you think might be applicable to future events like that one.
Oh, I mean, the one thing that is, I mean, of course. Most of the talks I will watch from the archives. So like, as interestingly as all the Hope conferences so far, if I go to Hope conference, I see, I don't know, like 10 or 11 talks or something like that. But the rest of the time I'm hanging out in the hallways and talking to people. And interestingly, the same thing happened here. I was in the chats a lot. I was like having my private Zooms and talks to other conference attendees or conference members, and I will watch a lot of talks later on when the whole craziness is over. But I mean, there were a couple of really, really extraordinary talks as always. So I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, because everyone should watch all the talks anyway. So.
Nice. Well, it's really nice to hear from you and to get your insights from Austria. And certainly, I think we will be watching a lot of those talks for many, many happy hours and days to come. Our next... Alex
Urbellis here. A few short...
Some contest winners. Why don't you tell us about them, please, Fred?
Yes, that's right. The puzzle we had 13 hidden Easter eggs, depending on code combinations. And the first person to find out all the combinations wins a lifetime subscription to the magazine, I believe. And that person's name is Ariella. There was one mistake on the sheet, but we'll allow it because it's probably due to a delay on the code. But that mistake was spotted by Dana VA6DJH, so count that as a runner-up. So thank you for participating, and congrats to that.
Indeed, we're all very enthusiastic, and what a puzzle that was also that you developed.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Up next, we have some remarks. We're going to play a short film from Alex Rebellis with some comments. Please take it away, Alex, on the video.
Alex Rebellis here. A few short concluding comments from me to the Hope community, since I won't be able to attend the entire closing ceremony tonight. I'll be brief. To be a part of Hope 2020 on the Speakers Committee as a speaker and an MC to 2 keynotes, it's been a privilege, and honestly, this has been sort of magical. We knew Hope was going to change this year. We thought the biggest change was going to be holding it at St. John's University in Queens instead of Hotel Pennsylvania in Manhattan. Shifting to a virtual conference that lasted 9 days, this was never in the cards, never a thought that even crossed my mind. Everyone pulled together and pulled off an incredible and precedent-setting hacker conference from start to finish. The attendees, speakers, talks, workshops, late-night bits, everything has been top-notch. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I've actually preferred the virtual Hope this year. I don't miss the slow, humid, unair-conditioned elevator ride to the 18th floor of Hotel Pennsylvania. I hope that we can continue the collaboration of the community and keep the momentum going. This conference has been a shining light, a beacon of hope, in an otherwise pretty damn dark time. See you all the next one. Signing off.
Thank you, Alex. It's such a pleasure working with you on these events. We've had interaction as MC, interaction as speaker, and also as someone that's helped out with finding speakers, part of the speaker committee. It's been really wonderful working with you.
Thank you, Greg. It's a real pleasure, and I recorded that because I didn't think I was going to be here. I'm probably going to have to jump off in a few seconds, but spectacular work all around. Like I said in my comments, precedent-setting conference here, the standard by which all future hacker conferences in the middle of global health crises will be judged.
We hope there's not that many. It would be good to be a small group. Up next, we're going to talk about infrastructure team. We've had a lot of questions about this, and I think we've had a lot of success. It was a very interesting journey to develop all this infrastructure. What we're going to do is play a series of short videos. We'll talk about pre-talks. We'll talk about Matrix. We'll talk about Big Blue Button. We'll talk about monitoring, and then we'll have a few closing remarks on that set of stuff. And then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about WebMin, which is also one of the monitoring tools that we used. So I'm going to turn over to a series of slides. And at the outset, before we begin that, short movies, before I turn over to that, let's just reiterate that let me take a step back to follow on what Emmanuel was saying earlier. When we made a decision to go virtual as opposed to canceling, which was a very, very real possibility back in late spring, we knew that St. John's was likely to not allow us on campus. They had just like every other campus everywhere, they had a real prohibition on gatherings, and it became evident that it was just not that likely that we could do it in person. We decided to go virtual. This is, I think, a little over 2 months ago now, not a long time ago, and you can imagine the planning that goes into a conference like Hope. We're basically organizing, making plans, certainly looking at venue, things like that, a year out, and then call for participation, that sort of thing is 7 or so months out from the conference. So it's a pretty long lead time and a lot of work. Anyway, so some of that work had been done. We had accepted or we had received some talk proposals. Here's the story. We decided to go virtual. We had a couple months. We needed to make a ton of decisions about what was going to happen. What was the online experience going to be? And here's what we did, and we'll get a rundown momentarily, and I'll come back and I'll add a few more points after that. What we did was we built out an online delivery and service platform for the conference. We rolled out a help desk. We rolled out chat. We rolled out teleconferencing. We rolled out monitoring. We developed a cybersecurity plan. All the stuff behind the scenes under the hood, like DNS entries and proxy servers. all of that happened through a core of dozens of very talented and extremely hardworking volunteers. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what the outcome was, and now we're going to spend some time talking about the elements individually and some of their individual outcomes. So let's go ahead and start out. We'll turn to a brief few remarks about the pre-talk system, then we'll go in and talk about Matrix, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes.
We wanted to implement pre-talks to make it easier to update the schedule during the event. Also to make it easier to show the schedule on InfoBeamer, which you see that between talks on the live stream. Had we been meeting in person, we would have been projecting those upcoming events for each room from InfoBeamer. Additionally, folks have made schedule viewers for mobile phones that we wanted to enable. Pre-talks is a super powerful piece of software that really is like a Swiss Army knife for conference organizers. For Hope, we wanted to make a few changes to align with the workflow that already existed for selecting talks and finalizing abstracts. So we made some changes so that we could import talks from a few different formats that had been used in the past. There were also some changes that we made on the front end so that matched the rest of the hope.net design, which you can see here. It's brought into the rest of the design for the website. We also wanted to separately break out speakers on their own page here. We wanted to break out workshops into their own section, as well as attractions, just to make it a little bit easier for folks to get around and kind of match the layout that we had used for past Hope conferences. We also decided on pre-talks before the decision was made to move to a virtual format. Once that decision was made, we started to realize that we'd have to make some changes to serve what ended up being a very global audience. One of those changes you might have noticed that got rolled out the day before, or maybe even the first day of the event, was a way to change time zones. And time zones end up being pretty hard. So we ran into some different bugs that over the course of the first day or two, we kind of got those fixed so that the time zones matched across different parts of the website. We also wanted to implement a way for attendees to sign up for workshops and provide some capacity controls. It ended up being that we didn't need these capacity controls. We weren't quite sure how it would work out in this format. So you might have noticed in the first day or two, we had a way for folks to put in their ticket code, and depending on how many seats were left, it would register a seat for you. And ultimately, we just rolled that back to kind of make the workshop links more broadly open to attendees, and just providing the links to the workshops in the Matrix chat. So it was a lot of fun to work on this. Definitely hoping to contribute some of the changes back to pre-talks. We also want to look to figure out how we can make this better and both improve pre-talks as well as InfoBeamer for the next Hope conference. So looking forward to kind of working on this some more in the future.
Hi, I'm Valka, and I set up our Matrix and Element server for Hope this year, and I'd like to share with you some of my takeaways from this and recommendations for the future, and a little bit of trouble that we hit along the way. First of all, Matrix is the server or the implementation of this chat protocol, which has end-to-end encryption and many great clients for all platforms, mobile, Windows, Mac, Linux, of course. And they have a great website, element.io. Find them on GitHub. Give it a shot. If you've not tried it yet, it's quite nice. We have a little intro to Matrix and Element on the Hope Wiki, just like a legend with some common questions we got about the UI and login, just to make sure that everyone could create an account We didn't actually have too many questions about that. So after we got the wiki up, so that was quite good. The server deployment was done with the Ansible Docker deployment, which is also on GitHub. Just search matrix docker Ansible deploy and you'll find it. I did a few performance configuration changes before deploying, but nothing too crazy. Most of it was out of the box, and it just kind of works. If you're interested in performance questions or configuration tweaks, let me know, and I'm happy to help out. What we did is we set up one public room, so everyone is auto-joined to this public room before talking to our Hope core bot, which did our ticketing. You would send the ticket to the bot, and it would invite you to the Hope communities and all of the attendee rooms. And this is just kind of what that looks like. During the period of the conference, we had some unwelcome visitors, which tried to stress test our server for us very kindly. Luckily, we used workers. So if you use a worker setup with Matrix, it scales quite well. So we were using quite a few cores, and that mitigated most of the attack. But most of the usage was pretty normal. You can see on the graphs here that it kind of goes up and down with when people are sleeping. And we uncovered a couple bugs, but overall, like it scaled super well. We have 1,100 plus users in the Hope Welcome Room, and it's just sitting on one server. And I would recommend anybody who wants a chat system, especially if you're security minded, you want end-to-end encryption, give Matrix a go. It's easier than ever to set up, and it's really great. Like, working with it, and I'd recommend it. Thanks. Hi, I'm Valka, and I set up our Matrix and Element server for Hope this year, and I'd like to share with you some of my takeaways from this and recommendations for the future, and a little bit of trouble that we hit along the way. First of all, Matrix is the server or the implementation of this chat protocol, which has end-to-end encryption and many great clients for all platforms, mobile, Windows, Mac, Linux, of course. And they have a great website, element.io. Find them on GitHub. Give it a shot. If you've not tried it yet, it's quite nice. We have a little intro to Matrix and
Big Blue Button was chosen because it fits our workshop model so well, since it was originally made for schools online, for school classes online. It was started back in 2007, and in 2009 a company was founded called Blindside Networks, which operate using Red Hat-like business model in which the software is open sourced, but they offer paid support. Earlier this year, back into March, they released a full rewrite of the client-server software to be all HTML5, which helped us a lot with not having to deal with Flash and other issues. And also earlier this year, the company open sourced their load balancer, which made Hope possible for us to actually use it. They did it due to the pandemic. And you can see here is a diagram of the servers we have, basically. It's in total 8 different servers. Greenlight is our front end, so when you access workshops.hope.net, you were connecting to that server. That server used the ScaleLight API to be able to start rooms and join rooms. And when you join a room, ScaleLight would pull all different nodes, BBB1 through BBB3 nodes, and decide which node to start the room at. And each one of these nodes is actually the software, the Big Blue Button software, and each one of them could hold up to 200 people, concurrent users. And one of them, in our case, BBB1, can certainly hold over 500 people, given the size of it. We certainly overscaled things, but that's fine. We only had one workshop track, and we ended up not using all the resource, but that's great. As you can also see in the diagram, there should be a recording storage server, which we didn't have time to test and finish implementing. So that's one of the reasons that our recordings were not available until very, very recently. Presenters and attendees ended up giving us overwhelmingly positive feedback. So I highly recommend anyone who wants to do a conference to use Big Blue Button for their workshops. And if I did it, I think anyone can do it. It took me about 2 weeks of research and learning things. This is certainly not my area of expertise, but the great docs from Blindside Networks make it all very painlessly. So yeah, we highly recommend anyone to do and use Big Blue Button for workshops, for online conferences. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'll talk a little bit about the monitoring setup. For our monitoring, we chose to use a combination of Prometheus and Grafana. We chose this combination specifically for a few reasons. Some of us had experience with it, it's quite easy to deploy and configure, and it has less overhead than other monitoring systems. For our setup, we had one big Prometheus server that continuously scraped over 40 endpoints every 5 seconds. Some of the endpoints provide us with data on the usage of system resources, statistics about our Big Blue Button cluster, Docker usage, Nginx traffic, database usage, you name it. We use Grafana for our dashboard, where we could keep an eye on things, and we also use Grafana for our alerting. Every alert would fire within 30 seconds. If it saw something wrong, every 6 seconds for a time span of 30 seconds. Those alerts would then be sent out to a matrix room where a team could directly intervene when necessary. On the following slides, I'll show you a few examples of what we were able to keep track of. On this slide, you can see part of our dashboard. We could keep track of all participants on each PPP server. This allows us to see what server was handling most of the traffic to make sure everything kept running smoothly. This is an example of how our alerting dashboard looked like. As you can see, we put an alerting for a multitude of services to fire within 30 seconds if something went wrong. So within 30 seconds, one of us would see an alert and would intervene if it was deemed necessary. Now this example shows us part of our dashboard we could keep track of all our traffic. This allowed us to see where all our traffic was coming from. As you saw in the last slide, we had traffic coming from all over the world. We serve traffic to a truly global audience from over 124 countries. I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to be a part of this great adventure.
Hi, Aesthetics here. I did a lot of background work ensuring that the various volunteers of the technical team had access to the resources and support that they needed. And there are a couple of housekeeping things I think are rather important. The first is that this was an online conference, something that we had never done before. And the dynamic of an in-person conference and an online conference is pretty different. And we had anticipated some of the differences, but really, if you've never done something, you can't anticipate everything that's going to happen. And that's just something to keep in mind for anyone who is currently planning to transition their own conference online. The second thing is that we walked into this with a set of expectations that turned out to be mixed at best. Let me explain. When you have a conference, you have a set of expectations when volunteers are going to be on shift, how long things are going to run, things like that. Well, both being online and being a 9-day conference, we ran into the issue where Hope was on Monday. People have to go to work. You know, they're volunteers. They have a day job outside of this. So on many, many fronts, this was a huge, huge effort and a lot of work, and therefore, I think it's my duty to express my deepest thanks and appreciation for everything that every single person on the technical team in particular, but in general, did. And with that, I thank you so much for allowing me and everyone else to be a part of making this event happen. Thank you.
As I said, that was a tremendous quantity of work that went into building up the services that you're enjoying even now and throughout Hope. We have one more piece. This is about the use of webmin. JP, let's hear about it.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. I want to show webmin because I think it's a very easy to use GUI tool for Linux systems. Don't get me wrong, CLI will never go away, but this tool makes it really easy to do some very standard things. So let me just first give a shout out to the developer of Webmin, James Cameron. He did a great job with it. And next, I just want to show a sample of what the dashboard looks like. And you can see really clearly here all the statistics for the running machine. And on the left-hand side is a nice menu that's pretty deep and does a whole bunch of different things. The next slide here is just more of the dashboard that you saw. This is going further down, and you can see there's CPU utilization, the network utilization. You see some network configuration information, and then finally at the bottom we can have a status of all the processes that are running on that dashboard. Our next slide is the cluster part of Webmin. So if you have more than one Linux server, you can do a whole bunch of really cool things in terms of managing them centrally without spending a lot of time. The whole package is like 30 megs. It installs pretty quick, and you can save a lot of time with it. Thank you. Oh, Greg,
excellent, JP. This the thing that wound through all of these stories of the infrastructure, and there's other pieces. I'll mention a few of them as we go. Is we wanted to build our own. You know, we're technical people. We want to avoid the corporate solutions if possible, and you know, we have the skills and the person power to roll stuff out. And what a tremendous community response we got from the technology that we did roll out. So let's talk a little bit about the AV. And JP, you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen, probably. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So actually, JP was one of our MCs as well, so he had multiple roles, as many of us did. So I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of the AV. And the first thing to mention is we're guilty. We're guilty as hell. What's this technology we're using right now, those of us that are in this little teleconference? Zoom. Hiss. Boo. Zoom is okay. It has a huge market share. It's being used for education. It's a free, not free software, but it's a no monetary cost tool for a lot of people. So there are some things to like about it, but there are also some things to not like about it. And we thought about this deeply. We evaluated other technologies very, very carefully, and we found that that Zoom ended up being the one we thought would give the most stable attendee experience. So that's what we're all about. So the broadcast model that we had, and there's about 200 people that have been part of this model at this point, is to use Zoom. We're in this little Zoom room. We have a tie-in to the master control system. The master control system is using a mixture of OBS, which many people are familiar with. It's a standard sort of DJ production, multifaceted, but it's often used for DJ production, VJ, I guess you would say. And we also have something called Live Stream Studio. And as I'm sure everyone noticed, when you're looking at the live stream, it's on livestream.com, which is a Vimeo company or product. And so Livestream Studio is what feeds livestream.com. Livestream Studio is also feeding the other places that people are watching right now, YouTube, Periscope, and a couple others. So between OBS, Livestream Studio, and the hefty Windows workstation that all this stuff is running on, we have a broadcast capability. And so what can we do? We push stuff into that broadcast. And in this case, we're pushing Zoom into that broadcast right now. So Zoom is used really only for those relatively, very small meetings, a small number of attendees, to do screen share and the regular sort of Zoom things. So that's sort of the basic model that we had, is to have a group of speakers, MC, facilitators, and the broadcast operator in the Zoom sending out to the attendees. That's on the AV broadcast side. We also, of course, had a number of MCs, and thank you to the MCs. Almost always when there was a master of ceremonies in the room, there was also another person being facilitator, and the facilitator was taking the questions out of the live matrix chat and providing them to the MC, usually via the Zoom chat. So a little bit of cutting and pasting, but actually we added value because we often fixed the wording a little bit or tried to make it a little bit clearer for the speaker, and we give a little bit of a sequence to the Q&A to make it conversational. So that's kind of the model that we developed. The other thing I'll mention that we made a decision early on about, and I think it was a good decision, is we suggested that speakers, so people that are doing the talks, not the workshops and not a lot of the other part of the program, that they pre-record. And it turned out most of them did. We weren't sure what the response would be because they could do a live presentation. And that seems like it was a pretty good decision, a pretty good guidance, because we ended up getting a tremendous variety of really, really nicely produced videos, usually on the order of 40 minutes, sometimes a little bit shorter, occasionally a little bit longer. And so we had a 40-minute video followed by a 10-minute Q&A. That was kind of our standard thing. When people were live, they could have as long as they wanted, but we guided to 40 minutes of presentation and then a 10-minute Q&A afterwards. So that's the formula we came up with. And I'd say that the notion of pre-recording turned out to be successful, because if any of you have watched Lightning Talks or Hackers Got Talent, what do you spend the first number of minutes doing? Debugging everyone's connection. And this isn't just Zoom. Believe me, we tried this with Big Blue Button. We tried Jitsi. We did it with Skype and a couple of the other tools that are out there. And so we sort of bypass all of that by having the pre-recorded video, introducing it. And then we had, maybe 40 minutes during the pre-recording to say, oh, let's test your screen share. Let's raise your microphone level. We have to give your, Macintosh permissions to access the microphone, all that stuff you have to go through. So that's, I think in a nutshell, that's the AV, the attendee-facing AV infrastructure. In the back channel, we were using Mumble. We have a voice communication channel that number of the sort of production team were connected to. And of course, there's also a bunch of matrix channels, rooms, which are really just there for, again, sort of back channel inside communication. And so we had multiple communication channels going on. So that was a quick description of the AV broadcast model. We didn't have any slides on that, although I think there was a slide in one of the movies we just saw. So I'm going to change gears again. And many people attended workshops, and Mitch was sort of the organizer of most of the workshops. We had another small committee behind workshops, and thanks to the committee that worked so hard on that. And Mitch, and also many, many other people, but a special thanks to Dante, who did a lot of the wrangling of the workshops. By wrangling, I mean, what's your Big Blue Button room? When does your session start? Let's get that word out to the people that signed up for it. Colin, our fantastic pre-talks person who you heard from, developed this pre-registration system for workshops. And we decided, well, let's not, something going on over there. I don't know if everyone can hear that. My wife is saying, hey, do not pee in the house. She's yelling at one of our dogs. So anyway, we decided not to have registration, but we had a pretty good registration system, but we only used it for the first day and a half. So and that's what the dogs thought of the registration system. They thought it worked well, but was worthy of being discarded. Okay, so let's hear from Mitch, please. Mitch, let's hear about your remarks from the point of view of the workshop organization and other aspects.
Hey everyone. I'm Mitch, talking to you from Berlin, Germany, where I've been since the end of February in this pandemic of ours on our cool and weird and beautiful and bizarre little planet. Yeah, it's where I've been helping organize Hope for the last few days, not only the last 9 days of Hope, but also for months leading up to it. There were only a few of us doing it months ago, and then lots and lots of volunteers came, and then even more as the weeks before Hope came along. And oh boy, without all of that help, this wouldn't have happened. We all did this. We made this happen. It's kind of amazing. But my main thing was recruiting for talks and workshops, and then other people were helping with a lot of the technical infrastructure. But yeah, I was doing a lot of the nitty gritty, and a lot of it was not scripted. It was a lot of stuff that was manual and tedious and kind of fun in my own geeky anal way. I'm just kind of wired that way. So, but I thought I'd show you just a little bit of the kind of tedious things that were going on. Just bear with me a sec. Here is emails. I don't know if you can read this little number here, but it says 4,870 emails, and that's just the workshops. So the Hope emails leading up to this were 32,423 emails for the main core list. So that's a lot of stuff. And then emailing all of the participants and all the people who registered for workshops before we realized that registering was more of a pain than it was worth, and it was confusing people. And but it all worked. No major things went wrong, which is kind of amazing. Lots and lots and lots of little fires to put out. And all the while I was taking intensive German language course, and my German is suffering as a result. So anyways, I hope all of you enjoyed Hope, and I look forward to seeing all of you in person next time, where we can all actually be with one another. And regardless, we're all supporting each other and teaching and learning and sharing and doing what we do best. So all the best to you all, and see you soon.
Thanks, Mitch, for those wonderful remarks and the incredible work that has gone into everything that you've done. We had over 60 workshops, more than any other Hope. We had overlapping workshops, we had repeated workshops, we recorded some workshops, and thanks to removing that workshop registration, we ended up with workshops with 30, 40, 50, and even more people through the big blue button system that we talked about earlier. So just cheers, kudos all around, especially to the people that submitted workshops and worked so hard to bring that fantastic content. This next slide is just a one-pager thanking the press team. So we get press inquiries at Hackers on Planet Earth, as you might imagine. We get people that want to cover the event, people that want to get a complimentary pass to the event, people that want to do interviews and so forth. And this is the team on your screen that was behind that. We did have an incredible coverage. I think we saw that in an earlier movie, maybe a little hard to see all the countries listed, but over 100 countries had tuned in. And the press team was helpful leading up to and throughout Hope at getting the word out. So thanks to them, and great job. And by the way, if you, two things. One is if you see an article, then email it. I believe it's press@hope.net. So if you see some coverage, then share that, because we like to track that stuff. But I think more importantly, if you are connected, or if you have an idea of a venue to submit an article or an article idea, or send them a link to a talk, anything like that, feel free. It's great to get the word out of our fantastic conference, fantastic speakers, and the great week that we've been having here together. So that's the press. We talked about broadcasting. We had a little bit on workshops. I think what I'll do is just very briefly mention the MCs, and then we're going to hear a little bit about the OTF fund. The MCs are on the talk side, what sort of made the world go round. You saw me on screen like now, trying to sometimes be funny, sometimes be serious, sometimes be interactive, sometimes fill in or help out with if necessary. And thank you to all of the MCs. I think the MCs were extremely professional. They were able to keep the flow going. And let's face it, an online conference, what's the difference between someone sitting at their computer and doing a webinar, just sending out a bunch of slides, and actually a conference, right? And the difference to me is interactivity. And we had a lot of interactivity in the Matrix, but the interactivity with the speakers was via Matrix, but then the front end of all that interactivity was provided by the Masters of Ceremony. So thanks to the group that did that, and thanks to all the great interaction with the speakers. They were very accommodating. The speakers were all just totally happy to talk about their stuff. So that's just a brief thank you for the MCs. I think a lot of people have seen them. Let's hear from Bernie S. We want to hear a little bit about this OTF fund, and maybe a little bit of a summary of some of the talks that we've seen on OTF throughout the week.
Wait, my mic. There we go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. So. Proceed.
Okay. I'm Bernie S. I'm thrilled that this all online hope worked out so well. Not everybody was convinced that it would, but it was a gamble that paid off. I'm especially pleased that we were able to bring some badly needed attention to the Open Technology Fund. This is a little known US government funded agency, or organization rather, that brings digital freedom and privacy tools to people at risk around the world. Before this Hope 2020 conference, not many people in the hacker community knew about the Open Technology Fund and their critically important work, which is now under existential threat by the Trump administration. Steve Bannon and his friends are trying to kill the open source tools that are being shared by OTF. So we invited OTF's former CEO. She resigned because of all the political pressure against the organization and the move to kill the open source tools. Libby Liu was our keynote yesterday, and she told the hacker community what's been going on with that, which she did really well with Biela Coleman's help. And that was followed by a great talk by OTF Chief Technologist Sarah Aun. Hope I pronounced her name right. She added to Libby's comments about how the Trump administration is trying to kill the Open Technology Fund's open source projects. And today's Sunday keynote by EFF's amazing executive director, Cindy Cohn, she also touched on what EFF and other organizations are trying to do to save the Open Technology Fund and its mission. Like I said, Steve Bannon and his friends are trying to kill off OTF's efforts to bring open source digital freedom and privacy tools to people around the world, but we need to put a stop to that. So you cannot contribute money to the Open Technology Fund. All you can do is contact your federal legislators to tell the Trump administration to stop holding hostage the congressionally approved funds of the Open Technology Fund. There's about $20 million that Steve Bannon and his friends are basically holding hostage. It's our tax money that's just being held hostage. We're not allowed to give money because there's a firewall between the Open Technology Fund and, you know, there could be bad money, whatever. You can't give money, unlike EFF, which you should give money to. You can't give money to the Open Technology Fund. So listen to the talk by Libby Liu and others, a keynote speech, and contact your legislators and ask them to tell the Trump administration to get their hands off the OTF and let them do their open source development work to distribute these tools around the world. Thanks for attending Hope 2020, and we hope to see you in person next time.
Excellent. And if you're wondering specifically what you can do, there were some very specific ideas in the keynote and some of the other talks about how you can get involved in addressing the challenges that OTF is facing. And we also had several talks about the wonderful stuff that they're doing. So I think we had about 5 or 6 talks total that touched on OTF in one way or the other. Up next is Lex. We're going to hear from Lex Icon all about the Cyberpunk Film Fest, who won and what it looks like.
Hi, Greg. Well, over the last couple of days, the filmmakers had 5 days to create their projects, and then it was kind of a demolition derby of who would be the most cyberpunk in creating their films. So the filmmakers, we had the judging take place over the last 2 days, and today we screened the projects on the stream, and so we have 4 challenge winners, and now there's a grand prize that those challenge winners are eligible to win. And so we're going to show you the grand prize winning film in a second here, and also there's another prize. What we have is a secret prize called the Most Cyberpunk Prize. The Most Cyberpunk Award is off the grid. It is not in the rules. It does not follow the rules, and I cannot tell you how it's decided. It is decided off the grid, basically. It is a very cyberpunk award. So the grand prize in the Cyberpunk Now Film Festival 2020 goes to Cyber Boogie Shakedown. And the filmmakers of Cyber Boogie Shakedown have won a $600 credit in the 2600 store provided by 2600 Magazine, the Hacker Quarterly. And also, the most cyberpunk award goes to one of the films that won Best Animated, Baud Zero Signifier. And the most cyberpunk prize is sponsored by R. Talsorian Games, a company which put out a role-playing game in 1988 called Cyberpunk 2013, shortly followed by in 1989 by Cyberpunk 2020. So what the filmmakers who have won the most cyberpunk award have won is a signed copy of the updated Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart kit signed by the founder of the company, Mike Poundsmith, as well as a complete print library of supplements to the original Cyberpunk 2020 game, which came out in 1989. That is some serious original cyberpunk fun. So here are the two films. First, you'll see the grand prize winner, Cyber Boogie Shakedown, and then the most cyberpunk, Baud Zero Signifier.
Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, log in, jack in, splice in. Doesn't matter how you get in, just make sure you're there to see your favorite cyber sideshow, sweetie. Tune in 15 minutes for the premiere of my brand new stream. What the? Rachel, set a timer for 8 p.m. The show must flow. The show must flow. Streaming. Motion capture. No.
42, 34, 63, F88. I hope you have better credit than I do. Oh, thank God. Yes! How's that? What are we gonna do? 650. Yeah, that's right. Time to showtime.
Over the past few months, consumers in the New York area have been introduced to a wide range of new phone numbers. These numbers represent a host of telephone services that are now being offered here. Computerized wake-up calls, interactive weather forecasts, but that's not all.
competitors, the people that submitted, that put in long hours putting those films together. Thanks to Lex and the team that also worked on all these rules, the formalities behind it. And of course, thanks to 2600 for partnering with this film festival. I think this could be a regular feature. It was amazing. And I didn't think it could be done. Of course, we're used to doing the impossible here at Hackers on Planet Earth. That's kind of our signature activity. I'm sharing the screen. I have three more things to interject, and then we'll end up with sort of some thanks and sponsors and a few more closing words. So we're getting towards the end. What you're seeing on your screen there is a broadcast station. So this is where our winner, Corey, is sitting right now, but virtually. The broadcast station is in the data center location of one of our sponsors that I'll mention later. And it's basically a big hefty Windows PC. And I thought people would be curious to know what it looked like from behind the scenes. And it looks like, it sort of looks like maybe it's not like in a formal situation, and that's true. It's in the office at the data center, but it's in a data center, climate controlled, access controlled, with a very robust uplink, power generation, all that sort of thing. So you can imagine that when we were thinking about what could go wrong with Hope, one of the things we thought of, well, someone's power goes out, a system goes down, a disk goes bad, all the regular things. And we got some great partners and contributors that made infrastructure available. So I thought that this one was a fun slide to share. So that was the broadcast workstation. And how do we work that? We worked it remotely. So the different broadcast operators would get in using remote desktop type software to manage the stream. And in fact, that's happening right now. That's how you're watching me through this workstation. One other thing I want to mention is the live stream count. We've had, maybe I'll take a moment and thank Internet Society right now. We've benefited tremendously from the partnership that Hope, Hackers on Planet Earth, and Internet Society, or ISOC, has had over the years. They've been broadcasting live streaming the Hope Conference main talks from the in-person conferences for the last several events. And we have a wonderful, talented contributor named Jolly, who is a key person to make all this happen, and is also one of the broadcast teams and set up the live stream studio, the stuff I mentioned earlier. So huge thanks to Internet Society, huge thanks to Internet Society. We have some great statistics. So this is just from the live stream channel. We know that there's YouTube, there's a couple of other things that are out there, but just in terms of what we're pushing out from the live stream, we have just under 40,000 unique views. This is over 9 days. And so, some of us will be counted multiple times, as you would imagine. And over 1.1 million minutes viewed of Hackers on Planet Earth during the last 9 days. We also simulcast to Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. And I don't think we have statistics on YouTube, at least not in front of me here, but on Periscope, we had over 2,700 live watchers and over 3,000 replay watchers. And for those of you that know how to use Periscope, it has some interesting features for the replay that we thought were worthwhile making it available there. On the Twitch, we had a couple thousand live views and over 55,000 minutes. So these are some pretty respectable numbers, I think. And of course, over time, we have the Internet Archive. The talks are mostly there. I don't think they're all there yet, but the talks are being pushed to the Internet Archive. Great friends of all of us. And also the talks will, right now, I think it's just one big long talk, but the talks will end up in channel 2600 in the YouTube area. So YouTube, if you don't know this already, YouTube has a channel called channel 2600 where you can see Hope videos going all the way back to 1994. And they're fantastic to watch and wonderful experience. So these will all be there as well. So that was a longish way, but I'll circle back. I wanted to talk about the streaming, but that was also a longish way of saying Internet Society is what made this all happen. They made available their streams, the streaming platforms, the expertise, the talent, and also a lot of the necessary labor it took to bring this conference to you for the last 9 days. So thank you, Internet Society, a very good, very close friend of Hackers on Planet Earth. Okay, we're just about at the end here. I want to pause for a moment. I think of all our infrastructure, I know we missed some of it, but I didn't want to miss the help desk. The help desk was spectacular. And I mentioned before, we wanted to roll out, design and deliver a service organization that made your Hope experience as good as it could be. And we know that there was a lot of technology. It was a little rough around the edges. We were making some changes as we went. You know, we know that. And we hope that most people are accepting of that. And if you've been to an in-person Hackers on Planet Earth, you might remember us saying, gee, the internet isn't quite up yet. And oh, we dropped this fiber optic down a 20-story stairwell and need to recover our connectivity between the 6th floor of the Hotel Penn and the 18th floor and all this stuff. So some of us remember, I see Bernie S. smiling, because some of us remember climbing out on the roof of the Hotel Pennsylvania in Midtown Manhattan to set up our ham radio station and our other communications gear. So, we're used to building a conference where you're not quite done building the conference and the conference is already starting. And I know that was rough on some people, and we tried to make it as easy as we could with some documentation and a lot of people offering support. But I wanted to call out the help desk. The help desk had a ticketing system. They had a number of different volunteers that were involved. A lot of you interacted with Tara and Thurman, and also some other people on the help desk team. So a special thanks to them. The help desk, I think, was extremely responsive. Everyone has used help desk, right? Everyone has sent in a ticket, has sent in an email, has placed a phone call, and been told that your call is very, very important to them, and then you don't know what's going to happen after that. But I can tell you that in the help desk, I don't think any ticket sat in the queue for more than a couple of hours, and those were on the overnights. For the most part, we got very, very fast response. And because we had Matrix and all these other channels, the help desk crew, info desk crew was able to reach out to the expertise necessary and get answers, make fixes, and so forth. So it was one of the tips of the iceberg of the support organization. Thank you to the help desk crew. I think 2 or 3 last things to cover. Let me put up this slide. Let me do the slide screen share thing again. And these are the main organizations, not the individuals really, but the main organizations that really helped us out. We've talked a lot about Internet Society. Hackaday has long time been a friend of the, Hackaday has long been a friend of the conference. They've usually had a booth or even a couple of booths in the vendor area, and they came back again as a sponsor. XLX is the data center where you saw that Windows system, and they also contributed several other systems, including a couple of the main systems for the Big Blue Button, which if you're watching in the Big Blue Button room, that's the system that you're sitting on right now. I'd like to thank John Companies. John Companies is an organization, a hosting company that made several bare metal systems available to us to run some of the monitoring, and also actually the help desk is running in the John Companies San Diego data center. And the last one on the slide here is No Starch Press. No Starch Press has donated a bunch of gift certificates and discount codes. Then those were some of the prizes in Hackers Got Talent. In addition, No Starch Press has extended a discount code to everybody at Hope, and you can find that in the discount code area on the wiki. We had a couple other organizations and individuals that donated. These are sort of the ones that we highlighted. We have some t-shirt donations for Hackers Got Talent. You can find that on the Hackerware. Hackware.io, you can find that on the donations page. And also I'd like to thank the people that are that made infrastructure available. So back to that infrastructure team, several of the systems were actually just paid for out of pocket by the volunteers. So these are some of the these are the main ones and some of the main sponsors that that help to bring infrastructure to you by basically giving us stuff. And why do they give stuff to Hackers on Planet Earth? Well, because they like us, they think it's a worthwhile activity, and they want to be part of the hacker community and value the interaction with the hacker community. So thanks to them. I'm in my last few moments, and then we'll actually let's do this now. Let's just see of the people in the Zoom and the people in the Matrix, speak up if there's anything I missed. We're going to talk about civility for a few moments. We're going to talk about feedback for a few moments, and then that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely, Radio Statler's been going the whole time, and you can also go back and listen to Radio Statler archives because you got the talks going on, and you've also got Radio Statler going on. So you should go back and listen to Radio Statler after the conference if you've been watching the talks. And so that's radio.hope.net. And also we have all the film festival films. Now you can watch them on cyberpunk.hope.net if you want to see all the films that were in the film festival.
Outstanding. Any other comments from our assembled group in the Zoom here? Anything I missed? All right, interrupt me if you do. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to say a quick thank you to all those who did a bunch of hard work who, because of circumstances, we ended up not being able to use. Like Gila here would have been your housing liaison had we still been taking place at St. John's. So she put a lot of work into that, and it went nowhere. So thank you very much for all that nothing. And thank the rest of you on staff. Just it's been amazing that we've been able to do this, and I am so proud of all my Hope colleagues and attendees and presenters and everyone who just came together and made something really special happen.
I would just like to piggyback on that. This has been really my first year participating in a role other than following around my boyfriend and then my husband. So this has been an amazing experience to be part of the team. Again, the thing I was initially working on was lost to the pandemic, but this has been an amazing experience. Thank you to everybody who worked so hard, especially Greg. Thank you so much, Greg, for everything you've done and that you continue to do.
It's my pleasure, my honor. Thank you.
I think we should make sure we give Jason Scott a special shout out here because of how well he handled the chaos and carnage that we call Hackers Got Talent. Honestly, that just takes an immense amount of patience and humor and being able to handle anything thrown at you. And that is very hard to pull off.
And I'd like to give a shout out also to Forrest Fuqua, who was one of our initial broadcast crews, who did a great job for, I think, 6 out of the 9 days. So shout out to Forrest.
That's right. What's up, nerds?
And Mitch Altman is sleeping right now because he's in Berlin, but I got to thank him for doing not only all the workshop stuff with you and Greg, and but he did so much speaker outreach. I think he outshined everybody on the speakers selection, on the speakers committee on speaker outreach. He brought in so many fantastic speakers this year. I have to give him a special thank you for bringing so much amazing content when for a while we didn't think we were going to have enough. And then the heavens opened up and we just were showered with amazing submissions. So thank you, Mitch. Sleep well.
Excellent.
Something I should probably also do soon. It's like 3:30 in the morning here.
Not too loud. Presenters, well over 100 presenters of talks, keynotes, 9 separate keynotes, dozens, scores of workshop presenters that developed workshops on every topic that you can think of. All of these put in tons of time. We also had performances. Thank you especially, well, thank you to performers, but thank you especially to DJ Spock and to Tamara,
oh, yeah, good stuff,
who brought in the performances. On the performance side also, Cameron Glass, some of you watched In a Box last night. Cameron wrote, performed all of the music that we heard on the interstitials, those info beamers, as we call them, mostly all the time on our secondary track, but in between talks on the primary track. Thank you so much to Cameron. We've mentioned Radio Statler. Let's send a special thank you to Otter.ai. Otter.ai is fascinating to watch. It is technology that transcribes automatically, makes a textual interpretation of what is said, and it's happening right now, as a matter of fact. And we thank them for cooperation and outreach. I'd also like to comment, I know there's so many I'm going to forget, and I rely on my friends to add in anyone that I forgot, but I want to mention that we had really very, very special interaction with matrix.org, the Matrix software. I hope it's not a secret, but we actually had the CEO of Matrix in the infrastructure Matrix Matrix chat, giving us guidance on how to tune our Postgres database. And actually, this might have been in the movie. I apologize if it was. How to tune the Postgres database and how to mitigate a distributed denial of service attack that we managed to weather and survive. And we had, I can't remember the exact number. It was somewhere over 250,000 open TCP sockets on one single system during this attack. So having the Matrix CEO on our side was helpful. So that's quite a list. Thank you so much to attendees. You took a leap of faith. You said, we don't quite know what's going on, but it might be cool. And we'll plunk down our couple $100 and attend Hope. And thank you for that vote of support. We heard earlier how much of a difference this made to the viability of 2600 Enterprises and 2600 Magazine. And we all care about 2600 Magazine and want to keep it with us for as long as possible to come. I
ran across one line in the chat. I think it's kind of important to say. Hope really lived up to its name. I'm inspired and ready for the future.
That's what we tried to do, isn't it? Yeah, that was, I think if there was a single essence that sort of distills it, we're in a period of history that is hopeless or feels hopeless, feels disempowering in so many ways. And what can we do about it? And over again, during the talks with presenters, for example, they had ideas about what we could do. And just across the board, right? And we talked before about the OTF fund. What can we do about that? What can the EFF do for us? I'll pause for a moment. Big shout out to EFF. Talks over and over again, keynote, wonderful, wonderful friend of all the hackers, all the people that are on the internet. And I think really all the people of, at least of the United States, if not the world, who want to benefit from privacy, freedom of speech, and all the great things that EFF fights for. So we had talk after talk that brought hope. Or if maybe they weren't feeling that optimistic, they had ideas about what could be better, what could be done, and particularly what the hacker community might be able to do to improve the situation. So thank you. Yeah, thanks. That's a fantastic comment. I want to mention just two more things that are on my list. And I'll count on my friends and people in Matrix to see if I'm missing anything. And I apologize for all the people and activities that I did miss, but thank you. You were valued. I want to talk about civility for a moment. The first opening remarks of Hope with Emmanuel, and then I came on and gave a little bit of an overview of what to expect. That was 9 o'clock in ancient history. It seems like decades ago, but it was about 9 days ago. We encouraged people to build a community, to be civil to one another, follow that golden rule, and to give a little bit of collaborative oversight, because despite having many volunteers, the volunteers can't be everywhere and don't always have the power or the judgment to intervene and make things right sort of instantly. And what we observed over and over again was that the community was extremely civil in the Matrix chats and the other online forums. And by the way, the hub was fantastic. The Anarchist Village hub, we had another hub. I left those out before. What a fantastic technology. But civility ruled. We had extremely polite interaction with the workshops, within the workshops, with the presenters of various types. And it made me feel like the community does have the civility that we need. And yet, just like humans everywhere, as we've heard in so many of our talks, we can be subject to disruption, to various types of baiting and things that maybe will shift us from our clear view to a filtered view, and that filtered view, I think, has been problematic sometimes. So, thank you. Thank you for being an incredibly civil and incredibly conscientious community, which was built up, formed, developed, matured, thrived, and got a whole lot done, learned a lot, and gave a lot of self-support during the time of hackers on planet Earth. Thank you. The last thing I'll mention is, I think this is the last thing I'll mention. Have I forgotten anything? I know I have. The last thing on my list is feedback. So as we heard from Emmanuel earlier, you'll get an email at some point to your ticket holder address. So whatever you use to buy your ticket, you got your ticket codes and had a little interaction. So you'll get an email at some point in the future that invites you to give your shirt size and maybe a few other details. And I'm not sure if it'll be that or if it'll be before then, but I think everyone also will get an email inviting them to send feedback, and email feedback is great. We've collected feedback in Matrix and some of the other forums. And so feedback@hope.net is the email address. And you can do that right now. You can do it later, do it over the upcoming weeks. I can tell you that every message gets read, and many of those messages of feedback@hope.net result in improvements or tuning or other shifts in how we do things in the future. So feedback@hope.net is the address for feedback.
Before we end,
call again. Anything I'm listening? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anything I'm forgetting?
Before we end with the shout outs, I want to shout out to all of the organizers of villages, because each of the villages did something different to deal with whatever it was that they were doing. The lockpicking village, dim sum hackerspace, the radio village. I spent a whole bunch of time in the anarchist village because it was freaking cool. They made a whole virtual world in hubs, in Mozilla hubs, and it's still up. And they were talking about actually continuing to have like movie nights over there because it's a really cool space. We were actually watching talks live, kind of standing next to each other in the virtual space, and also had a disco there a couple nights. So kudos to all of the people who did all of the different villages. They were awesome.
Thank you, Alicia. Yeah, that was fantastic. And I mentioned the hubs, but I didn't mention the villages. See, I knew I was forgetting important, critical stuff that I loved because there's so much going on. Hackers on Planet Earth 2020 has been history making. You've been part of it. It happened right here, and you've been part of it. Thank you for joining us. Hackers on Planet Earth. We're going to